Hi, everybody. My name's Thajal Engelkar. I am an account manager here at Imparity, and I'm delighted to be on stage with Elise Edmonds-Keefe, who sits on the customer database and business intelligence team within MacKenzie Childs and is also our Imparity champion. MacKenzie Childs is a home decor brand up in upstate New York, and I highly recommend going to their Soho store. It's an incredible, phenomenal experience that I just got to experience a few days ago. We're excited to have this session with you on Identity Unlocked, the value of Stitch. So Elise will be telling you a bit about her story and MacKenzie Childs' story and how MacKenzie Childs leverages Stitch to power even greater ROI, especially as they moved from an AmpIQ only customer to the full suite of Imparity just this past year. I'll also give a little bit of a preview on some of the Stitch innovations coming down the line that enable faster and more efficient runs. Just as a refresher, Stitch is our patented AI and machine learning tool that performs identity resolution on all of your customer data. So it resolves multiple records PII down to an actual human and unique Imparity IDs. And so once these AMP IDs are established, there's so much that you can unlock. And we'll actually hear more because Elise and MacKenzie Childs they're on that journey right now. So very excited to hear more from you, and I'll pass it on to you.
Thanks, Thajal. Yeah. So first, I just want to explain a bit about what MacKenzie Childs is. So we are a luxury home decor brand in Aurora, New York. We're actually on a 65-acre farm, believe it or not, and we're one of the last companies in the U.S. still making handmade ceramics in-house. So our products are very special. Even the things we don't make here in the US, they have some type of handmade, hand-painted, hand-decorated aspect to it. So everything is pretty expensive, but our customers, as a result, have very high value. And one of the biggest changes we've been going through recently is a new ownership. So about almost 2 years ago now, we were acquired by a new owner, and they have delegated some pretty aggressive growth goals. So we have some big shoes to fill this year.
I've got a question for you. Is there something that we wouldn't know about MacKenzie Childs that you can share, or about this incredible estate, as I like to call your beautiful headquarters?
Oh, yes. So there's actually a lot going on in Aurora, believe it or not, even though it's such a small town. As I said, we're on a 65-acre farm, so we actually have Highland cattle. We have peacocks, geese, sheep, like the works. It's a fully functioning farm. We have our Aurora shop there, and we have hand painting happening with our ceramics. We have furniture deco, we have upholstery, all on campus. And something really fun is we've actually opened up production tours again. So if you did come to Aurora, you'd be able to sign up and get the full inside scoop on how we produce our ceramics and things like that. So it's really cool.
Okay, I got to make it up there soon then. That's great.
So I wanted to also give you a little bit of background on where we were about a year ago. So we did have an existing database and a partnership with Imparity. Our existing database was kind of getting outdated, and we were really outgrowing it pretty quickly, especially with, as I said before, all these growth goals that we have set for us now. They had rigid customer match logic, which was really just a one-to-one thing. If the name and address didn't match, then it wasn't connected. The UI tool was basically for segmentation only. I never got any insights on the audiences I was building. I just knew how many people were in it. All of our reports also typically required development, so it really took time for our team to turn around insights, and that really wasn't working for us anymore, understanding that we have a lot of things to do this year. And finally, Tableau wasn't really hooked up correctly. Everything was connected to raw data tables instead of like a cleaned up version of our data. So it was really tough to use. With our partnership with Imparity, we were actually grandfathered in from Castora, which was an acquisition they had in 2019. And we were using Imparity for data enrichment, basically. So we were taking the predictive metrics that we originally had with Castora that was now from Imparity and plugging them into the database so we had them available to us for segmentation purposes. And we're also using them just to get more insights on our customers, because we did have access to the tool and could create a segment and just check out some cool stuff about them that we weren't able to use before. And with things like the affinity models, we actually were able to send those directly to our email partner out of Imperity, which was really convenient. So to give you even more inside scoop on where we were a year ago, this was kind of what our tech stack looked like. So we had our, all of the standard source data going into the database, and we also had Imperity going into the database. And then on the output side, our database connected to all of our standard partners like email, SMS, et cetera. But we also had Imperity plugging into some of those places too, because their API connectors were so much more powerful and easier to use. So there was a little bit of duplication happening. And Imperity also unlocked some other partners for us that our other database wasn't able to connect to, things like Google, Bing, and Meta. So it was kind of complicated, and obviously this is a little bit messier than what you'd normally like to see.
Was there an aha moment for you and your team when you realized we need to move to the Imperity full suite?
It's funny you asked that. So I did something maybe a little dirty, I don't know, but I actually tested you guys against our other database partner, like in a head-to-head test. I asked both of our partners to run a report for me, and I wanted to understand what products were purchased together frequently. And Imperity actually was able to turn something around for me very quickly, like within a week. And my other partner, it took a couple months, because once again, that was the development that was taking too much time. So when you did that for me, I got very excited and was like, what are we doing?
That's great to hear. So, you've told us a little bit of your story, business needs, the background. I thought it would be good to tie that back all together and understand why Imperity, but specifically, at least from your lens. So for any Spotify lovers out there, you might recognize this. Instead of Spotify Wrapped, I did an Elise's Imperity Wrapped to make it kind of specific and personal to the value add that you see, with your team. So number one, the bread and butter of the Imperity operation, Stitch or identity resolution, really resolving identity for a more robust, unified view. I think this was a huge value unlock. I think especially for your IT team, as it reduces the workload, and then you just have better first-party data. And with better first-party data, there's so much you can unlock.
It's true. And on top of that, this was also the first time that I was actually able to see what customer records were being connected together, because I never had that insight before. I just had the end product, which was one customer profile. But now I'm actually able to go in. I can see the clusters. I can see what records are rolling together, and it tells me why, too.
Yeah, that's great. Next, we have seamless integrations for your entire tech stack. So, I think looking at that before picture of the messy tech stack, we could definitely reduce all of that mess through flexible options on the way we bring in data and the way we push out data through our pre-built integrations. I know this is a big efficiency play for your team.
Yeah, it really was. One of the biggest things that our CMO was focused on when it came to any database partner was the ability to connect with APIs. And this was kind of another place where our other partner wasn't able to measure up. We were doing everything through SFTPs, and the API integrations have made things so much easier, especially when it comes to sending audiences to things like email.
Yep. Next, a personal favorite of yours, data just at your fingertips through the SQL editor. I know you're not a traditional hands-on keyboard gal yourself, but I think
Right.
AI Assist we've heard a lot of today, as well as just generally the way the VSE works, really made these insights so much more accessible and saving you a lot of time. So now you don't have to take the time to parse through all that data. You can just action on that data instead.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the AI assistant because I am not trained in SQL. It's something I've not had a privilege to learn yet, which I will, I promise. But in the meantime, I get to just ask an AI bot how to do it, and it tells me.
Great. And then lastly, my personal favorite, Amperity as your built-in strategic partner. So you have this experienced team there to help you with all your analytical, technical, marketing needs, so that your team can also focus on, some of those more critical business priorities and projects.
Yeah, this was kind of, if you go to the next slide, this was kind of another aha moment for me. I don't know how many of you have seen this before, but when Amperity showed me this slide, I was like, wow, they really are trying to help us get somewhere. I've never seen a customer journey mapped out so clearly before, and I'm still waiting for this to get blown up and sent to my office.
I will definitely work on that, yeah. As well as the cluster. She wants a necklace of the cluster name, so I'm working on it. So I know you said this helped you become so much more forward-thinking on your strategy. So if anyone hasn't seen this slide before, I would definitely recommend reaching out to your account manager, especially if you feel like you're stuck on figuring out how to action on your marketing. So great slide. Yeah,
That's
there
a
we
great
go.
idea. On the dog toy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure you remember this glorious tech stack we had here. But the next one, this is what our tech stack looks like now. So much better, so much cleaner. All of our source data is going straight in, and Amperity running their magic, and all of our destinations are receiving data from one place rather than multiple. And you also unlock something new for us too. Again, the CRM. We've never been able to connect to Zendesk before until now.
There we go. So I thought it would be powerful, given that we actually just got out of implementation just this past month. So thinking about the value of Stitch and identity resolution, I thought it would be powerful to look at the numbers as it relates to MacKenzie Childs. So the first one, 49%. So that is the deduplication rate after running Stitch. So Amperity ingests about 2.5 million source IDs into the CDP, and we're able to resolve those identities down to 1.3 million Amperity profiles. And so that really means you're not duplicating messaging anymore. You're able to really target intentionally, and
Our CEO was very impressed that this was our number.
Fantastic. The next two numbers are looking at your active misidentified customer base. So looking at Stitch, before Stitch and then after, 31% of your active misidentified customers were actually in the top 20% of spenders.
That's crazy.
So really unlocking more to truly identify your VIP customers and better target them. And then of those misidentified customers, they spent 3.6 more than we previously thought they did.
And they were able to see this too because, like I said, we had a relationship with them established. So they were ingesting everything directly from our database vendor, and we're able to compare before and after.
Yeah, and we're at a good point because we have both the tenants right now, so we can really
we're still
compare
playing in
and
both.
contrast. But MacKenzie Childs already has a very loyal customer base, and you have some pretty high VIP spenders. And so if we're finding stats like this where they're actually spending 3.6 times more than previously, what we previously thought, then there's just so much more you can unlock in terms of targeting that base.
And I also think this is going to change a bit about how we're thinking about our VIP customers too, because we thought they were doing a fraction of what they actually are. Yeah.
So looking ahead,
some of the biggest things we're working on right now as we're rolling out the full suite of Amperity are rebuilding some of our key dashboards and reports, things that we have that we need to keep in order to keep our business moving. And some exciting new ones that are TBD, but they're coming, are the executive dashboard and one and done dashboard, which Amperity kind of has them already built in, and they're just working on rolling them out for us. And dashboards are not really something that I've been able to work with before because Tableau has been connected to raw data tables, which are huge, messy, and this will be just so much better.
Yeah, just a fun stat. One of our MVP use cases was working on these reports that I think took you like half a month to complete every time just to compile the data.
A whole week.
A whole week, okay. And now you'll be able to access that so quickly with
I'll
the
be able
good
to hit a button that says refresh, and it's there.
Amazing. I love to hear that. On the marketing front, we really want to engage with your customers intentionally. And so the first thing we're going to do is identify the true VIP customers. So the stats that we just showed you, as well as our predictive models, are going to be key drivers here. We're also excited to launch your churn prevention program and refine the welcome series.
And also looking ahead, one of my favorite things is enablement and really giving my colleagues, our executives, the data that they need at their fingertips. So having that direct access to data, having those dashboards that anyone can interact with and play around in and kind of just get more insights about what we're working on, what our customers are doing, and how they're purchasing at any given moment. And shameless plug, AI Assistant is great for the non-SQL user.
And then I promised some updates on Stitch innovation. So, Stitch is a very powerful product for Imperity, but we're always looking to improve upon our strengths here. And so we have two updates here coming down the pipeline. First, we're working on incremental Stitch. And incremental Stitch is a methodology where we find it's safe to run Stitch incrementally, reusing parts of Stitch output from prior jobs rather than computing them from scratch every day. So this enables much faster turnaround times and can actually unlock intraday runs of Stitch. So if you're thinking about a use case here, if you have a retailer that's ingesting new data daily, you want to be able to incorporate that freshest data on your campaigns, and now they can run Stitch more frequently, which is really exciting. The second being staple Stitch. We already run Stitch on sparse records, and sparse records being records that have very little PII. Many sparse records are not clustered and are given a unique Imperity ID. We're figuring out ways to improve our clustering methodology so this data is tagged to a profile or tagged as a sparse record. So this really encourages companies to send more data to Imperity, even if it's sparse data, which will ultimately lead to just better, accurate customer segments. So both of these features are in beta today, and if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to your AM, and we can set up some additional time. So very exciting there. I think I'll wrap it up by saying it's been an absolute honor to share the stage with you, Elise. I'm very excited that we're going to be moving into run state and really hit the ground running with a lot of the initiatives, value-driving initiatives that we have down the pipeline. And yeah, I think I'll just open it up for questions if anybody has any.
Thanks, Tejal.
Yeah, of course.
Do you mean specifically with Stitch? Yeah. I'm in the database all the time, digging in at everything. And to be honest, I can't say that we've fully rolled out processes in order to audit things over time because we just finished implementation last month. But I know during the implementation process, we dug into 100 customer records and asked a lot of hard questions to Imperity, like why are these people together? Or, what is really the likelihood of these people being the same person? So looking at the data in a really tough light to make sure we're confident in what Imperity's doing. And the end result, we actually approved all 100 matches at the end of the day. So that was really meaningful. And in the past, when we did that head-to-head test, the data that Imperity was using was actually straight out of the database anyways. So they were just ingesting everything the data sent and wasn't going through Stitch. So it was the same data. I kind of think there's no way you could mess that up.
Yeah, and I think our implementation, I'm really proud of our team for sticking to deadlines, but it's a very rigorous QA process that we go through. And we're on the phone with you guys for hours and hours if needed, just going through the spreadsheets to just make sure everything is, on par. I think we have a little bit of it's nice that we'll have both the tenants up right now, and so maybe we can do a little bit more analysis to see kind of what those differences are, but it's a continual process. It doesn't just end after implementation.
Yeah, and another interesting fact too is we're obviously looking at our 12-month buyers a lot, and one of the things I noticed is between one database and Parity, there wasn't a significant change in our 12-month buyers even after Stitch. It reduced by maybe 4,000 records, but so that gave us more confidence also, just understanding that, so what we were doing before wasn't necessarily wrong or broken, but now we have the data, the background, the clusters, all of the information to prove why this is working and why that's how many 12-month buyers we actually have.
The question is your data direct to consumer, also through wholesale? Just in case.
I only work with direct data. We don't have a database for our wholesale business. It depends. So for something like print, I was using the old database, and if I wanted something like a high value segment in my print piece, then I would create that in the database. But if I want to send an affinity, like a product affinity, an email, I actually was creating that in Parity and using the API connector to get it to our email partner.
And you're saying that was the old way of doing things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now
we'll
it's all direct from Parity.
Yeah.
He almost came today. Not to toot your horn, but Parity kind of sells itself. So going through implementation, I had a monthly check-in with our CEO and our CMO to give them updates on where we're at, what we're working on, where we're going, how the timeline is. Thankfully, we were able to stick to all of our deadlines, and Parity delivered everything on time, as scheduled, as planned, which is excellent because if it got derailed, John would have been intervening. But some of the great things that I was really excited to share with him was actually Stitch, and showing him, like, I actually demoed Stitch for him. I took him through, I showed him his own cluster. He got to see all of his records, and he was like, that's all right. So he's pretty excited about that. And just little things keep coming up that are very meaningful that I will pass back to him. Like everything, there's always something new that I'm learning about our customers throughout all of these audits we've been going through. So I would pass that information on to him. There's been a lot of valuable little snippets of information that we wouldn't have had any other way to get before. Yes, one of them is reducing my workload from 1 week to update 5 reports to 1 day or even 10 minutes. So, and the more I learn about how Parity does things, especially when it comes to reporting, the more I'm selling things to my colleagues, like, I can create a dashboard for you. So it's been really fun, really learning and digging into what Parity is able to accomplish for us. And it's given me even more confidence in our partnership and in selecting them. We actually didn't even do a traditional RFP because we liked what Parity had to offer, and Jim over here was able to sell it really well. So, and they've, like I said before, even though it hasn't always been smooth sailing, but they have been able to deliver everything we have asked of them.
Do you want me to ask my question?
Sure.
Okay. Last one. Is there any advice that you would give to prospects or other customers who either don't have Stitch or are considering the full suite?
You may not like this answer, but I would say challenge Parity. Ask those hard questions. Really figure out what your business needs and try and see if Parity would be able to make that happen for you. Because we ask tough questions, we really do. We pushed hard. Like I said, we audited all of those 100 records in a very detailed way. And I'm very happy with what we've gotten as a result. And if we hadn't asked the hard questions, if we hadn't dug into this information, we wouldn't have gotten nearly as much out of it already as we have.
Great. Thank you, Elise. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you
all.